Hi, I'm Chuck Myron,
And I'm his wife, Taryn Myron.
and we're married to Saturdays.
Married to Saturdays. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back, and welcome to a world in which Indiana is now the national champion.
Yes, and congratulations to Indiana. What a Cinderella story they were this season.
First national championship, first undefeated season, first Big Ten championship since a co-Big Ten championship in 1967, first Heisman Trophy winner. It's a completely new Indiana.
Yes,
And this was a 3-win team 2 years ago,
that's correct.
which shows, hey, look, anything can happen.
That's right.
In a very short span of time.
Especially if you have the right coach like Curt Cignetti.
And you think back 2 years ago, Florida State had the undefeated regular season.
That's right.
Didn't get the chance to compete in the playoff, and since then they've gone in the opposite direction of Indiana.
Down. Yes.
So a lot can change even in one off season, which is now what we're embarking on. But before we get into that, just want to talk a little bit about last night's game. Indiana beating Miami.
Yes.
And that's despite actually Miami outgaining Indiana.
Correct.
On the ground and through the air, total yards they add up, and Miami had more than Indiana, which I think is actually something that we're not hearing enough about.
Right.
The fact that Miami really was more than competitive in this game.
Mm-hmm. You know, and Indiana blew out their first two games, their first two playoff opponents.
Right.
And Miami showed that they can keep up with Indiana. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough in the end.
Well, I mean, this was, I think, a Miami team that showed just how awesomely talented it was.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You had Carson Beck, who was really the offensive star, but Mark Fletcher as well.
What a star he was last night.
Yeah, and his ability to make big plays on the ground, and I think that with Bain and Mesidor on defense and all of the weapons that they have,
right?
And at the top, Mario Cristobal. We all come to crown Curt Cignetti as the reigning king of college football coaching,
right.
As well we should.
Yes.
But Mario Cristobal did a tremendous job, and this is a guy who, rightly has been questioned for the last few years, going back to his decision not to kneel against Georgia Tech.
Correct.
I thought this was just a tremendous coaching job for him in the playoffs. A Miami team that clearly I think he took some of the reaction that Notre Dame had, and used it to fuel this tremendous playoff run.
Yes, they did amazing, and don't forget about wide receiver Malachi Toney as well. He made so many great contributions, not just through the playoffs, but through the season as well. He's talented as well. I believe he'll be back at Miami next season. But you're right. Going back to Coach Cristobal, he has received a lot of criticism, especially the last couple of years. And again, what a great job he's done as well. He really took advantage of the transfer portal and really built that team.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, it was a win for the ACC.
Yes.
for Miami to perform as well as they did.
Yes.
You had the Big Ten teams. You had Big 12 teams. The Big 12, of course, who lost to Oregon, but you had Indiana just against Alabama as well. And
they made Alabama look like Florida State.
Really, if you think about the teams that played Indiana close, Penn State, which is a curious case.
Yes.
Penn State actually played both Oregon and Indiana. Those were their best games.
Correct.
And Ohio State.
Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game.
In the Big Ten championship game. And now Miami.
Correct.
And I think it's really interesting. You have you have two playoff teams right there. and Penn State, which was entered the season as a national championship favorite
Yes.
in many people's eyes.
Ours too. Yes. Preseason playoff at least.
And so, but here's a Miami team that didn't even play for its conference championship.
Correct.
So what does that say about the ACC?
It shows to me, obviously, and everybody knows this, that the ACC really needs to revise their rules of who's going to play in the conference championship.
They have already. Yeah. I think it's just it shows the dynamism, I think, in college football right now, where aside from Indiana, who I think proved time and again in close games and in blowouts that they are the better team.
Mm-hmm.
Really from 2 to 50, you have a really flat world.
Mm-hmm.
Where just about anybody can beat anybody else or play with anybody else in that range.
Mm-hmm.
The transfer portal has made it so that you don't have continuity.
Right.
There is more upheaval.
Yes.
And I think coaching now more than ever is important.
Mm-hmm.
We saw what Signetti was able to do, but we also saw what Cristobal was able to do.
Correct.
Just coaching, I think well enough during this stretch of games here to get the team over the hump.
Right.
Yeah, you can't say that this was a well-coached Miami team from beginning to end this season.
No, you can't.
They had problems with penalties. They lost games they probably shouldn't have.
To Louisville and SMU. Mm-hmm.
But, it does not, take a whole bunch to be able to make a run.
Right.
If you can get yourself in position, I think that's the key. Get yourself in position at the end of the day. Have 2 or fewer losses, or if you're Alabama, I guess 3 or fewer losses. And if you get some luck, you're in the playoffs, and then you can make that kind of run like Miami did. At least that's the way it looks like from the outside right now.
Right.
Of hey, we have a really just an opportunity-laden environment in college football right now.
I mean, to be honest, it was really nice to see 2 teams playing for the national championship that weren't Ohio State, Alabama, or Georgia. It was just nice to have somebody different.
Right. And I think we might start seeing that. Mm-hmm. I don't think Indiana's going away by any stretch of the imagination. But, I think you're going to see more teams that have not been able to break through.
Right.
If part of that is we have a 12-team playoff now, and you don't have to get ranked in the top 4 to get there. But also, just I think the flattening of the talent level, the learning curve of what you're able to do, from one year to the next, you can't really build continuity.
No, you can't.
So you can just. What that does is gives you an opportunity to change things on the fly.
Right.
If something's not working for you, you can go out and do something different. The flip side of that is what's happened to Florida State.
Yes.
Is if you've got something that's working, it could disappear in a heartbeat.
Yes, as we saw in 2023. But we're not here to talk about that.
I'm not here to talk about the past.
That's right.
I think that this is, let's say, for the Josh Heupels of the world. I think they should be encouraged by what they've seen, because again, you can go out there and if you have a good year, you bring in the right kind of talent and you coach them well, anybody can win or at least compete for a national title.
And I gotta say, give Miami all the credit. They went out there, they competed with Indiana. The end of the first half, it was 10-0, I believe, Indiana. And then, Miami came back, they got the touchdown, it was 10-7. And then it was the block punt where Indiana scored a touchdown. And everyone's thinking, okay, this is it. Game over. Indiana's going to do what Indiana does best. At least what we've seen in the last 2 playoff games. But it didn't happen that way. Every time Indiana scored, Miami would respond, or vice versa, in the second half. So it was really exciting.
Well, part of that is because both teams take calculated risks.
Yes.
Right, both teams played a blitzing style of defense,
Mm-hmm.
especially Miami with all of their
Oh
safety
yes. Oh yes.
blitzes. But I think you're showing what it showed to me was, hey, if you have a team that is out there to make its own luck, that isn't just waiting for the game to come to it, uh, uh, going out there and trying to make plays and doing it with precision,
Mm-hmm.
like Indiana did, uh, you know, good things can happen to you. That block punt
Yes.
is really a great example because, I think, look, if you go if you're in position to do that sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
if you play 60 minutes of football, as Signetti likes to do, he likes to
Yes.
keep his starters in
He
even in the
does.
blowouts
Yes.
because he wants them conditioned to play that 60
Mm-hmm.
minutes of football.
Exactly.
If your guys are locked in, you can make the plays that turn the games.
That's right. That's right.
And so I think again, this goes back to coaching and the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
that you have in front of you, which I think it fuels things the dynamics that we've seen this year,
Mm-hmm.
like James Franklin getting fired
Right.
at Penn State.
Right.
And you think back on Penn State season, you say, well, that's a team that if they were coached well, if they
Mm-hmm.
if they were managed well, hey, they could compete with
We-
Indiana.
we
They
might be
could compete
talking- right.
with Oregon.
We might be talking about them today more.
Right, and makes me wonder about Mike Norvell at Florida
Yes.
State. Is he doing the kind of job simply coaching the talent that he has to get this team back in the playoffs
Right.
and in position to win? Is Josh Heupel doing those same things? And is Tennessee's new defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles,
Mm-hmm.
is he going to do those things better than Tim Banks with the defense? Because I think you saw this year Tennessee's defense regress
Yes.
from the beginning of the season to
Agreed.
the end.
Yes.
Had one of its worst performances against Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Didn't look especially great against Illinois either in the bowl.
No.
And so will Knowles come in and make a difference there?
Let's hope so.
Yeah. Another dynamic that I wanted to kind of address is, okay, 3 years now, 3 years running,
Mm-hmm.
Big Ten teams have won the championship.
Correct.
3 different Big Ten teams: Michigan, Ohio State, now Indiana.
Correct.
The SEC has not played in any of these 3 championships.
Correct. They haven't played since 2022 when Georgia beat TCU.
Right. And I think if you're the SEC, you have to be a little bit worried about this. I think, frankly, Greg Sankey, maybe you worry a little bit more about the product on the field as opposed to, worrying about, well, do we need 16 teams in the playoffs, 24 teams in the playoffs? That's another interesting story too.
Yes.
But I think right now, if we think about the SEC, which has been the preeminent conference in college football for a long time,
It has.
It isn't anymore right now because the results at the end of the day have shown that they're lagging behind the Big Ten and lagging behind other conferences that are making the championship games against the Big Ten. You go back to Michigan and Washington. Well, it was a Pac-12 team then. Washington,
Yes.
that's really just another Big Ten team now.
Right.
Notre Dame last year,
Correct.
the Independent, and now the ACC. I mean, that's kind of embarrassing, I think. As somebody who roots for an SEC school,
Exactly.
I think we need the conference to do better in the postseason.
I agree. I mean, look how many teams you had from the SEC in the playoffs.
Five SEC teams in the playoffs, and none of them got to the finals. In fact, only one of them made to the semifinals.
Right, and that was Mississippi.
Yeah.
And what a great job they did this year, even without Lane Kiffin. So we'll see what happens with Mississippi next year. That's kind of an intriguing story to watch.
Yeah, a very intriguing story to watch. What happens at Mississippi, what happens at LSU.
Yes.
What direction does the Lane Kiffin decision send both of those schools in? So definitely a lot to look forward to as we think about 2026.
Yes. and hopefully 2026 will be better for both of our teams. We always want to strive for better.
And I want to talk a little bit because we might have, although it's starting to look a little remote, but we might have a different format for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Any preference from you as far as should we have 16 teams or 24 teams?
This is a hard one because I see the pros and cons of both. But I also think if we do a 24 team playoff, maybe they'll move the schedule up a little bit and maybe not give the teams with the bye such a long break. And I think that's been a problem now for the last 2 years of this playoff. Only one team that's had a bye has actually won, and that was our national champion, Indiana.
Yeah, I think that's a huge story when we think about it, that we've had 2 years of buys,
Right.
and the teams with buys are 1-7.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to get into a situation where teams are maybe sandbagging some games to try to avoid getting a bye.
Correct.
Because it's proven to be such a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, 8 games is not a huge sample size, but it's enough to look at that and say 1-7. That's kind of scary.
It is,
if I'm on
yes.
that 4 or 5 line, there's a lot of incentive for me to want to be 5.
Right.
Because not only do I avoid the bye, I also
play
get
12.
I get a campus home game. I
Yes.
play 12.
Yes.
So I think regardless of the number of teams, you have to look at scheduling and format tweaks because you have a competitiveness problem right now.
I agree. We thought this year it would be fixed because 2 years ago or last year it was the conference champions who got the buys.
Right.
That's changed this year. So, but that still didn't make a difference.
It didn't, and I think that more than the size of the field, and I know that is something that is a big bone of contention between the Big Ten and the SEC. But more so than that, you have to get the schedule right so that there isn't this wide
Yes.
gap of days that the teams on the bye.
Yes.
If you're going to have buys, that they're having to go without playing football.
Right.
And you also have to think about how late into the season do you want to keep playing?
Right.
Because right now, well, the semis. I want to say the semis were especially low rated.
Yes.
They were amongst the lowest rated CFP games that we've ever had.
Right.
And that shouldn't be happening in the semis. I mean, they
No.
were
Great games.
yeah,
Mostly.
Miami, Mississippi was a great
Yes.
game. It was a thriller.
Yes.
And Oregon, Indiana was a great rematch. But
Well-
it actually outranked or outrated the Mississippi
Wow.
Miami game.
Wow. I had no idea.
So having semifinals on a Thursday and Friday night, I don't know if that's the best idea. Again, this podcast is called Married to Saturdays. If you think about college football, you think about Saturdays. You
That's
might think
right.
about New Year's Day bowl games, but Thursday, January 8th and Friday, January 9th.
It's not good. No.
Yeah,
It's not good days to have it.
I think a lot of people who aren't diehard college football fans just simply didn't know that those games were happening.
Right.
And that's a big problem for college football if you want to grow the game.
Right. Dan Lanning actually came up with a great idea of how to, if we're staying with the 12-team playoff, of how to schedule it. So look it up. But basically, the national championship game is either like New Year's Day or something, and kind of moving things back. So he's got a great idea for that, and a 1-week bye for the teams with a bye. I mean, it's just like the NFL. The teams in the NFL with a bye, they get 1 week off. That's it. So maybe we should think about having that for college.
I think that would be an ideal or a more ideal scenario than we have right now.
Yes.
I think the big problem is that you have all of these different stakeholders with all of these different interests. The Rose Bowl wants to always be on January 1st, and they want to be at a certain time of day, and you have all of the other bowls that are in the rotation for quarterfinals and semifinals. And so, how do you manage all of those interests? Plus the conference interests, got to get everybody to agree. Specifically, the Big Ten and the SEC got to get them to agree, which isn't happening right now.
Right.
So I think college football has to overcome these things. Got a lot of things that they're dealing with right now.
Yes.
But I will say, there's got to be some change in the format of the playoff between now and next year, because you don't want to get in a situation where a team is maybe not sending its starters out because it thinks, well, I want to be 5, 6, 7, or 8 instead
Right.
of 3 or 4.
Right.
That would be a disaster for college football.
I agree. Yeah.
So, with that, I guess lots more to talk about.
Yes.
By the way,
We'll wrap up the season. We'll talk about the transfer portal.
We have
so much to come.
We have a deadline for that format change coming up this week, I think.
Yes.
So lots to talk about. We'll wrap up the transfer portal specifically as it applies to Tennessee and Florida State, but also across the country. What are the big stories there?
Right.
I want to just mention before we dip out. So Darian Mensah is getting sued by Duke right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is pretty unprecedented, as so many things in college football are.
Yes.
Because they say he signed a contract, he can't leave, and of course he wants to be in the transfer portal.
Right.
He's actually in the transfer portal because Duke couldn't get an injunction against that.
Right.
But Miami is rumored to be his preferred destination.
Yes.
Miami's backup is entered the transfer portal.
Correct.
Indiana's backup, Alberto Mendoza,
Right.
has entered the transfer portal because Josh Hoover from TCU is there.
Right.
So the transfer portal, even though for most players, like officially it closed on Friday for players who want to enter that. I mean, they're still deciding where they want to go.
Yes.
Many of those players, and also you've got the window that's open now for a little while for Miami and Indiana.
Correct.
So lots to still sort out. We'll be back to sort out all of it in very shortly. And thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
Thank
If you've done that. If you haven't, do it. Why not? Because we're going to be the off season isn't as well planned as the regular season. It doesn't follow this every Saturday routine, and so we're going to be reacting to the news as it happens, as it develops throughout the off season. So subscribe. That way you'll know instantly when we're available to you. So thank you, and we will see you soon.
Thanks for watching.